at large. Means I should write my invention which can be read by a common man on the street and he will be able to understand it. So the main difference between a research paper and a patent is that research paper is aimed at the scientific community and a patent is aimed at a common man. So it being the paper being addressed to your scientific community, you are a little better off in the sense you know the scientific community know the basics, so you don't have to tell the basics. You just give your problem and your results and your understanding. Remember, your understanding may be right or wrong. We are not the people to question it. But if the understanding is on logical and analytical grounds, it will stand the test. Later on, another experiment may prove that the results, whatever, I mean, the understanding we have is wrong. It is not a problem. We can change our understanding. So the manuscript, we call it as you prepare the paper, must contain the title. The title will tell what it is, and the keywords. Keywords will tell you how to classify it. It's not so simple to classify it. It's not that. Keywords are the words where the journal office looks at it more carefully, because if the keywords are very appropriate, depending on the keywords, the manuscript will be referred to an editor. If the keyword is wrong, the editor will look at it, he will take some time to go through, and then he will return it to the journal office saying that the keywords are wrong. So you should choose the keywords very, very accurately. Then the abstract. These are the components of a paper: abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussion, conclusions, references, figures, and tables. You know that. Now the point is, how much time do you take to do an experiment? How much time do you take to write a paper? It may span anywhere between, say, 3 months to 5 months, right from starting the work till writing a manuscript. Now, once you submit to the journal, how much time the editor takes to read it? That's a very important point. So you can't expect the editor to read it taking about 3 hours time a paper. It's exactly the same statistics or the same logistics like a student writes a 3-hour exam. How much time the teacher takes to evaluate it? He won't take 3 hours. If he takes 3 hours, evaluation can never be done in this world. He hardly takes about 5 to 8 minutes to evaluate the exam. I mean, to evaluate the paper. How can he do that? Because he is knowledgeable in the subject and he knows where the pointers are. So similarly, even if you have conducted the experiment, even if you have taken a lot of time to write a paper, the editor takes a few minutes to go through that. So it has to stand the test. Now, after you submit to the journal, what happens? What happens? It goes to the editorial office and you will get an acknowledgement. And the editorial office will check the format, figures, tables, and references, everything is intact. Then the editorial office communicates the paper to the appropriate editor. There will be an editor for each topic or a set of topics. So it will go to him. He is a domain expert in those areas. So now you see how it will be referred to an editor based on your keywords. Honestly, who will do the editorial, I mean, who works in the editorial office? They are not scientists. They may be scientists, but not belonging to the same area of your paper. So they look into the keywords, they match the keywords with the domain expertise of the editor, and they match it and they are going to send it to the editor. Now you can understand how important the keywords are. If you make a mistake in the keywords, it goes to a wrong editor, and the editor will take a little time to send it back to the editorial office. Now, once the editor receives the paper, the manuscript, he reads the manuscript. How does he read? He doesn't, suppose you have a typed manuscript of something like 45 pages. He can't go through all the 45 pages with all the details. What he does is, first he looks at the title, then he will make an assessment. Is the title contemporary or not? Is the title is of interest to my readers or not? For example, if I am writing a paper on Newton's laws of motion, which is already about a few hundred years old, then he says, no, it is not a topic of my interest, and the journal is not going to accept this type of papers. So the title is most important point for the editor to decide whether this topic, whether this particular experiment is relevant to his readers. What do you mean by his readers? For example, I'm an editor of solar energy materials and solar cells. Somebody sends me a paper which is a material most important for mechanical properties. So mechanical properties are not dealt in my journal. So my readers, when they take the journal, they look for specific examples of solar energy materials and solar cells. So immediately I'm going to say, okay, this paper doesn't belong to my journal. Then maybe it's solar journal. So you have to choose upon your experiment, and the experiment and the appropriateness is dictated by the keywords. Now editor reads the manuscript. He concentrates reading on the abstract and the conclusions, because he can't go through all the details. Sometimes after reading the abstract and conclusions, he may refer a few experimental methods if it is a new method. So abstract will give you the complete summary of what you have done in a very precise manner. Not giving all the details, but highlighting whatever are the details important. Now, once the editor looks at the abstract conclusions, to some extent, maybe the experimental methods, actually he will also put a check. The check is, before he reads the paper, he has some software with which he will check whether this manuscript has been the ideas or the words have been taken from other articles or other works. This is what we call it as the check for plagiarism. Plagiarism means you borrow the work from somebody and without acknowledging it, and you say that is your work. So in the plagiarism, there will be an overlap of content. What I mean is, for example, you are communicating a manuscript. I compare it with all the manuscripts which are available in that particular area. How do I know? Only with your keywords. Once the keywords are known, something like some 5,000, 6,000 manuscripts will pop up. Now, your content in the manuscript will be compared with all the manuscripts published available in the web or the web of sources. So there will be an overlap of the content. The overlap of the content, if it exceeds, say, for example, 12 to 15%, you can also check it. There are a lot of plagiarism software is available. You subject your manuscript to the plagiarism software. If it exceeds more than 15%, there is every likely chance your manuscript may be rejected. Rejection is not because of the content, but because the similarity or the overlapping content is more than 15%. Sometimes you might have published a paper just last 3 months, 4 months, and you continue the same work, and you would like to borrow a few sentences from your own paper. That also will show as plagiarism. But once I put the test, I know where you are already once the editor decides, okay, this is a piece of information, is something
Sir,
new
voice
in it.
is not clear, sir.
Voice is not clear. What should I do? What should I do?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it
Now it's clear, sir. Please
now
continue.
it is clear? Yeah, I should come very close to the mic. So once he feels, okay, there is some new content in the manuscript, there is a new idea, or a new result which the scientific community wants it is good, then he will invite the reviewers. Suppose if he feels, no, there is nothing new in it, already people know about it, there is only a small extension of some work. For example, if there is manganese in the lattice, you replace it with some other material like magnesium, then the physics and chemistry of it doesn't change much. So those type of papers may not go in high impact fact journals. So people are very careful whether you are giving a new concept, new idea, new result or not. Only if it is there, then it will pass through the editor. Passing through the editor is the first check. And most of the, now I can say, I mean, don't take it too serious or too depressing. Uh, my journal, Solar Energy Materials and Solar Cells, rejects about 85% of the manuscripts we get. I can tell you some statistics. Annually, we get about 3,000 to 3,500 manuscripts. So roughly about 10 manuscripts a day. We are about 6 editors, and of which about 80%, about 2,400 or 2,800 manuscripts are rejected right from the editor's desk. Remember that. So the remaining will go to the reviewers, and reviewer make comments. Of course, we will see how it is going to be taking place. And once the reviewer sends their comments, and editor, depending upon the comments, whether he may ask you to review it, I mean, revise it, or he may take a decision of rejecting it. Now, how many reviewers the editor is going to ask? Generally, there will be 2 reviewers for every manuscript. And if one reviewer says, yes, it's a good piece of work, the second reviewer says, no, it is not a good piece of work, reject. So there is an accept and there is a reject. Now the editor has got the right as well as the duty to act himself as a reviewer. So he goes through it very, very thoroughly. It may take about a couple of days or even more than that. Or he can invite another reviewer from his stock of reviewers. We have a lot of, in fact, most of you also might have reviewed a lot of manuscripts. So we will go for what is called adjudication, or we will take. Remember, no manuscript we will take it easy. You know why? An editor is also an author. And suppose if there is some content in it and you are unable to express it due to language problem or whatever it is, that won't be rejected. What we do is, okay, there is some content in it, why don't you rewrite? Take the help of English people, rewrite and submit. Sometimes what happens is, you may have written so fantastic, but there is no content in it, no new idea, that will get rejected. So generally, every editor takes extreme care of the manuscript, because the manuscript he handles is not just a piece of paper, it is sweat and blood of an author, sweat and blood of a scientist, studying hard for many, many months. Not only it is labor, also so never feel, oh, this editor is so bad, he's rejecting it. No, we will never do that. So this is the whole process. And sometimes it may also happen, 2 reviewers may say no, reject, but the editor has got the right to accept it, but he has to justify. Don't think that editor's decision is not challenged. Beyond the editor, there is a chief editor. Beyond the chief editor, there is a publication manager. And beyond the publication manager, there is a publisher. These are all the people. Why all these people? Because the fundamental aim of all this publishing agency is to protect the ethics of publication. Ethics of publication, number 1 is plagiarism. The author cannot just like that take the information from others and say that is his. Second, the editor may show some favoritism to a set of authors, and he may publish just like that. No, that's not allowed. every paper published must have a reviewer comments or some comments which can be verifiable by the higher authority. For example, tomorrow, if you file a suit in a court of law saying that this editor is doing some mischief, the judiciary must have the access to find out why it has been done. So every manuscript, whatever we handle in the journal office, must have a record of when it is received, who received it, who is the editor handled it, who are the reviewers. But generally, the authors won't be told about the reviewers. That is confidential. For the simple reason, you should not have prejudice. And most of the time, what happens is we do not like to select the reviewers of the same country or the same region or the same laboratory. For example, if I communicate a paper from IIT Madras, I'll make sure no reviewer is popping up in IIT Madras for this manuscript. So therefore, we do very good justice. It also, many of the journals want you to uh, suggest a number of reviewers. Don't think that we will follow, the editor follows the same thing and he will communicate. No. Mainly because you suggested a reviewer because you know him. And once you know him, the friendship will make a breach of ethics conduct in the publication. So it's not that we handle it just like that. There is a lot of effort from the part of the editors to make sure the authors are protected. Authors are, because authors are the lifeline of any journal. So now, with this small background, now I'll go into the details. As I told you, poor experimentation cannot be masked by brilliant writing, and poor writing can mask brilliant experiment. Here comes the job of the editor. If it is a poor writing and if there is something which is new, no editor would like to miss it. So what is required is what is new and novel in the work. That should come out. It is not the job of the editor to go on finding what is new and what is novel and what is adding in that field. So therefore, the author should make a presentation which is clear and concise, and it should be error-free both in spellings and grammar. I mean, this error-free not only in spellings and grammar, but also in factual statements. So these are all the ethics we follow whenever we look at it. Now, if you make the manuscript in a good presentation form, it will have the first attention. I will be happy to read it. For example, if you like to read a manuscript which is badly written? No, you don't. So you must have it as good typing, good formatting. For that, you have to take the technology which is available for that. For example, typing and formatting tools are MS Office. Most of us use it. In Linux also we have what is called LaTeX, and also Star Office is free. And good graphics, you have MicroCal, Origin, MATLAB, or NewPlot, or whatever it is. And references should be sequencing. You can do it automatically if you follow the software like EndNote or Manly. These are the standard software available for giving references at the end of the manuscript. And there are a lot of softwares available to check the plagiarism. Say, for example, Turnitin or cross-check or authenticate. These are all available with the journal office, or most of the universities have already subscribed for that. Now let's peep into the details. I said peep into because we don't have much time to go into the details of it. Anybody who would like to know the details, I'll be very happy to share. As I told you, the step-by-step is write down the keywords for the manuscript. This is most important. Most of us really don't care about it because keywords are the drivers of the manuscript to the correct editor. If it is going to the wrong editor, you will have two dangers. The editor may reject it. The editor may keep it with him for a longer time and then return it to the journal office. You lose time. So this is very important. And choose the targeted journal. Today, there are something like, for example, if you take in physics, material science, chemistry, the science journals, there are about 40 to 45,000 journals. I'm not saying the new journals. So you must choose an appropriate journal so that it will be easy. Most of us, what we do is, of course, as authors, as scientists, we feel our work is so important, we try to send it to Nature and Science. Nature and Science, there are about 4 levels of filtering. Even before the editor sees it, already there will be 4 levels of filtering. So it will be very tough. It doesn't mean you cannot publish it. You can publish it, but it takes quite a bit of time. And be familiar with the author instructions, because every journal has its own format. Why? Because every journal would like to be unique in its own way, and it would like to give the knowledge to the authors, to the readers, in a specific format. So they have their own set of rules. And you remember, publishing a journal is a business. It's not that they are very favoring you and all that, because your organization pays quite a hefty sum towards the subscription towards the journals. So, and remember, it's a very funny situation. Author is working free. Author will be happy to publish his work. In fact, he is also willing to pay the money to the journal for publishing. This is what is called the paid journals. But when he wants to read it, some of the journals, except open access, he has to pay for it. In fact, it so happened, one of the author's paper got published in a reputed journal. He doesn't have reprints. So he asked the journal office, why don't you give me some reprints? They said, you pay for it, because the copyright now rests with the journal. So be careful about all these things. There is a legal matters attached. There are ethical matters attached. And of course, our aim is to give the scientific discovery to the people, but don't think it is so simple. It has got lots of implications. Now, before writing a paper, when to write it? The questions asked is, what is known and why this study is needed? The background, which is most important. The first and foremost, you start with the last so what is known and why this study is needed? You must give the sufficient background. What did we do? The methods, the experimental methods or theoretical algorithms, so that people can follow. What did we find? The results. This is most important. And also, are the results reproducible and repeatable or not? If they are not, there is a particular journal called Journal of Irreproducible Research. You can publish it there. I'm not joking. It is serious. And what does it mean to you? Mean to you? To you, that is most important, because you have your own logic, you have your own analysis. So therefore, discussion part of it is entirely yours. You may interpret it wrongly, doesn't matter, but the result should be right. Whatever the experiment gives, whatever the algorithm you have chosen, that should be right. So now the most important is the title. As I told you, title is the one which is read by the, the publication office first as it receives. Next, it is read by the editor to decide whether it is good or bad. And the title will lead you. For example, if you see all your colleagues, the colleagues will remember the title to remember your field of research. And you cannot simply write a title, studies on, investigations on. It should be specific. It is almost like love at first sight. And editors, reviewers, readers, the first what they read is the title. It should summarize the study and it should promote it. And in that summary, you cannot use acronyms or abbreviations and no superlatives. You cannot say that, oh, I have done it and it is so fantastic. And start with the keywords. Keep it as informative as possible. Let the science speak for itself and build a title database. This is most important. So title is one which takes you so much into the editor's desk. That is important. Now, coming to the, you have written the title. Actually, title is written at the end of the writing the manuscript. Then you write the abstract. First thing what you write is the keywords. Before writing abstract, ask yourself several questions. What led you to do this work? What is the importance? What do you plan to achieve by what is the aim of doing this experiment or work? What do you actually do? How did you
Excuse me.
perform the
Come.
experiment? Yeah. Any problem?
No, sir. No, sir. Please continue.
Yeah. And what you actually do with the work means, is it a new experiment you are conducting? And what are the results of the study? You have to summarize them. The moment here, I would like to say something. Results are not the ones which are coming from the instrument. Instrument gives you data, not results. A result is an analyzed data with proper understanding is called a result. For example, if you vary the pressure and volume, PV is equal to nRT, different pressures, different volumes. You cannot give a table of different pressures, different volumes, and the temperatures. You have to plot it in the form of a graph. That will tell you the complete story in one sense. And next is, what are the conclusions you get from this analysis of the data? Remember, the data are being refined as results. Results are being analyzed, and that will form the conclusions. If you are unclear about the answer for these questions, you are not ready for the manuscript writing. You are not yet ready. Abstract is a short version of the paper, and it should be contain the complete story of whatever you have done in that piece of work. That's very difficult. You can't write it in the beginning. You have to write it only at the end of the manuscript. What is the objective of the study? First and second sentence. So it will keep the tone for the entire work. How the study was done, experimental methods, what results were obtained, the highest important results which are completely new, which are not there in the literature, why the result is significant, because that will tell you whether this result I am going to use it or not, what it can tells the readers. So if I read your manuscript, what do I really gain, or how my understanding is going up? Frequently, abstract may be the only part readers will read. And if I read the abstract, I should be able to tell what exactly is being done. Common mistakes in writing an abstract is too much background or method of description, abbreviations or acronyms, wrong tense. It generally what all we write is in the present tense. Uh, People also write in terms of the past perfect, or refer to other works and information that is not presented in the original work. For example, there is one small exception. You are writing a paper which is based on somebody else's work. You can refer that reference in the abstract itself. It's possible. So that people come to know, okay, you have understood that work and it's an advancement over that work. Or it can be a comment on that work. Or it can be a caution on that work. So now, nowadays, every journal is asking for graphical abstract. Graphical abstract is presenting the whole abstract in a graphical form. That's very difficult. It's not that you can just like that prepare a graphical abstract. And graphical abstract preparation requires a lot of experience on the computer graphics. Probably you can make a sketch of it and take a professional help in making the graphical abstract, because graphical abstract is the one which represents what you are. And there is a competition in many journals. If your graphical abstract is good, it may be printed on the front page of the journal. Many people take very advantage of, I mean, very, very proud of it, because very few scientists can be able to do that. So now every paper contains 5 elements: objective, method, results, discussions, and conclusions. And you must follow the C rule: complete, concise, clear, and conclusive. Why I say complete? There should not be any gaps left behind in either in your arguments, in your doing the experiments. It should be concise because, as I told you, publishing a paper is a business rather than a help to the scientist. Because every page he prints, that will cost him money. And I mean, being business, you feel always profit is your motive. So concise, very concise papers, very clear, are the most important. In order to contain this, there are a few journals, for example, applied physics letters. They will ask you to confine yourself only for 3 printed pages. So you cannot go beyond that. And it should be clear, should be understood by all, and it should be conclusive. In the sense, conclusions must be made very, very clear. Different journals or paper style is different. Mainly, I told you, each one has their own way of conveying the message to the readers. Comments make your paper perfect. For example, you may ask me, why do I need reviewers' comments? Reviewers are not there to kill you. Reviewers are there to make you feel better. Because when you write a paper, you are so engrossed in it, you are so thorough in it, you may forget that others also knows about it. But that's not. So reviewer's job is to make the paper more clear, to make the paper more worthy. So he is actually your friend, he is not your enemy. Remember that. And I tell you, most of the authors are also reviewers. Now, what is introduction? Provide context and rationale for the study. For example, if you take 100% of it, uh, abstract will be about say 200, and introduction. I mean, total I'm going it for something like 5,000. And you can see how much is the importance. Research and discussion is going to take about 3,500 units out of your 5,000 units more. So the whole importance goes over there. And yeah, what should be covered and yeah, what should be covered and what should not be covered. Tell readers why you have undertaken this study. That's very important. For example, if I take, now I am undertaking a study of studying Newton's laws of motion. People say, okay, man, you do it. You do your business, I do my business. They are not interested. For example, you say, I found a vaccine for COVID. Tell me how many people would like to read that story? Everybody, because that is a contemporary importance. What do you know about the topic? What do you know about the topic in the sense? You must know the basic principles, and you must know the previous studies, and you must have the literature survey. Means you are one among the people who understand the subject reasonably well. What has been done, what is going on, and what can be done. What has been done will give you the understanding of what you should do, and what is to be done is what you are planning to do it, and what can be the future. You are guiding the subject for the future, how it should be. For example, if you take solar cells, we started with PN junctions and silicon. At one point, people asked, no, it is too expensive. Why not we go for thin films? We went for amorphous silicon. Then people ask, if it is a thin film, why not we explore other materials? Cadmium telluride, cadmium sulfide has come. They said, cadmium is bad. Why don't we go for another material? Then we went for gallium arsenide. Oh, it is too expensive. Then we went for copper indium diselenide. Now it is coming. Now they said, why do you do all these things? Why not I have a new idea like perovskite solar cells? Everybody works on that. So this is the development of the subject, and you should be aware of what's going on. How did you do the study? I have done only one experiment and I'm giving it. No. How did you really manage the experiment? That is your approach, aim of the present study. These have to be made very, very clear in your manuscript. So the general rules are use the present tense or present perfect. I mean, I think I leave it to you because this is most important. But you have to maintain the same in all through the paper. Use more recent references from prestigious sources. Say, for example, if I want to communicate a paper now, 2020, if I start referring a paper which is 1980s, no, I'm not. Do you mean to say that work has not been done from 1980s till now? No. But if 1980s paper is a monumental paper which has made the foundation, yes, that is acceptable. So you have to take a call and cite peer-reviewed scientific literature for scholarly reviews. Avoid general reference works such as textbooks. Generally, we don't do that. Avoid lengthy or unfocused reviews of previous research. Define any specialized terms or abbreviations. And how to answer the question why? Why did you do the work? So what? So locating your project within an existing field of scientific research, begin with a broad statements that would generally be accepted as facts and everybody knows about it. Move smoothly from broad towards the sub area of the field which you are specializing. Because what all you should do is, suppose if I say, uh, uh, now I'm going to tell you a number, which is, I'd like to say 5,200 yesterday. Yesterday's number is 5,200. How many of you can understand that? None. Because what is this number has no meaning. Yeah, while going through the COVID statistics, the number I have is 5,200. Still, it is not clear, but the context is made clear. I'm talking about COVID statistics. So, I would like to say the COVID statistics taken in Tamil Nadu has given a number of 5,200 in Chennai. That is a precise statement. So I gave an introduction of the topic, COVID statistics. I'm giving you the connotation that the statistics are taken in a state called Tamil Nadu. Now I'm confining to a city called Chennai. I'm giving you the number, which is a correct statement. Everybody can understand, which has got almost all the features, whatever we talk about, the broad statements, accepted facts, we are moving broad to the sub area, and define general challenge and opportunity you are going to deal with. This is my introductory sentence. Following this sentence, I'm going to ask, the present study is going to show how these numbers of COVID patients can be reduced. Now you see, I have come onto the topic from a broader topic. I have given an introduction. I have come right onto my topic. So now people are interested. So I'm using the present scenario of bringing you on to the table and then asking what is going on. Now I'm asking the question, what do you know about the topic? Principles for general journals, maybe older references or books. For example, you say the solar cell work is important. You can say the world is facing energy crisis. So alternate energy sources which are not really harmful to the environment are important. So now you are setting the tone. What are the previous studies? Which group has worked on what? But now here you can't put all this stuff over here. You have to put a stuff which is relevant to your work. How did you make the study? Oh, I want to make a solar cell. I made a solar cell. How did you make it? How did you make it? You have to give a complete story of how you made it. I have prepared thin films. How did you prepare? By sputtering mechanism, by sol gel technique, whatever it is. Give all the details. What is the equipment you are using? And here, you must also be very careful in reading the instructions from the journal. Most of the journals specify if you have an efficiency, with reference to solar cells, if you have an efficiency more than 5%, your cell area should be more than 1 centimeter square. So these things are given in the instructions to the authors. You should be very, very clear about it. Okay. Now, plan your paragraphs, decide what is the main topic, write down the information and ideas, write your paragraphs, topic sentence, supporting details, concluding sentence. You cannot mix up the whole issue in the sense, if you are talking about one aspect, be on that aspect, don't jump to the other aspects. If you want to jump, start another paragraph. So the understanding of a paragraph is that you are following the same line of thought and the sequence is maintained. You are not deviating from it. If you want to deviate, yes, you have the flexibility, open another paragraph and then start doing it. So this is one. And of course, I always say, if you take care of the spelling and grammar, half the battle is won with the so-called editors. You may think, is it so important? Yes, it is important because grammar and spelling are the rules of the road. You may say, in fact, I read one essay by A.G. Gardner, The Rule of the Road. Somebody said that you have to walk on the left side pavement. I said, I'm a free citizen. I got the complete independence in 1947. I will move on the road wherever I feel like. I'm a free man. Now imagine what can be the chaotic conditions on the road. So you follow the road rules for whom? Your safety. You follow the spelling and grammar for your own benefit. So it's not that somebody is imposing it. Now, I think you really don't have to worry about spelling and grammar, because there is a software available called, I mean, MS Word will do the spell check. And Grammarly is a program which is available in the web, which gives you how to frame a sentence and whether the sentence is clear or not. And check your paragraph for coherency and style. Coherency and style are very, very important. I went for a dinner yesterday. The next sentence is, I'm going to go for shopping tomorrow. No, these two won't go together. You have to have a timeline of events so that I can follow it more carefully. So now, why a broad area, sub-area, and key advantages? What principles, previous studies, and define the gap? I'm just summarizing how the methodology, how to fill the gap, and highlight the benefits. Now, if you really take why, what, and how, the article, if it is containing about something like 500 units to 700 units, this is how it is being divided. Not only manuscripts, there are also letters. There are a few journals. That is, you want to quickly publish what is your result, which is important. It can't wait for a complete methodology. Then you publish it in letters. Later on, you can give a very detailed account of it. Now, if you read and edit, see how beautifully your manuscript looks like. So editing is extremely important when you are submitting the manuscripts. And coming to the results and discussion part of it, result, what you have done and what you have got. This is most important. Discussion can just is a storytelling. You understand it in your own way, applying your own analysis, your own logic. May be correct, may not be correct, but that will never be questioned because that is your understanding. But if the result is wrong, if I can't reproduce a result, then you are at fault. So therefore, up to the point of results, these are the facts that you are presenting it to the scientific community. About the discussion, that is a story you are presenting to the scientific community. You may change the story by yourself tomorrow, but results cannot change. So now coming to the discussion, I know I'm actually standing between you and the lunch. So I'm just trying to summarize it, and we can take a few questions later. In the organization of the discussion part, figure out what you really want to say. Uh, Plan the order and logic. Craft the exact language. This is the most important stuff when you are writing your discussion part of it. Some parts, what happens is, you may not be able to discuss the results separately. You may call it as results and discussion, which means you have not really analyzed the stuff in a detailed manner, but still you have something to say. That I would like to call it as a heading, a topic, results and discussion. How do you write results and discussion? First paragraph is going to describe the results with proper figures. The following paragraph is going to tell what you think about this result. So it doesn't mean that you always must have results separately, discussion separately. It can be combined even together. Now, the most difficult part, as I could see from writing a paper, is
Hello,
the
sir.
thing. Yeah,
Sir, your voice is not audible.
it is because of the internet. Now, is it available? It should be audible now. Is it okay? Hello, Dubeji,
Okay,
can you hear me?
okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah, the sentence construction is a maximum problem for the Southeast Asians where English is not their native tongue, native language. I'll tell you some of the examples. It's a funny example, but it
Hello,
happened.
sir.
Yeah.
Sir, your voice is not audible.
What should I do? What should I do? Should I close it and then I'll do one thing. I will mute it and I'll come back again.
Yes, sir. It's fine now.
Okay, now I think the internet is
Please continue.
is doing. Uh, One of the employees has written a letter. It is all about communication. He has written a letter to his boss in the following way. Dear sir, kindly grant me leave for 15 days as I am going to marry my daughter, which is an English language. You can understand the sentence, how bad it is. Dear sir, I want you to kindly grant me leave for 15 days as I am going to marry my daughter. Maybe it is a good point those who know हिंदी. मैं अपना बेटी का शादी करवाना चाहता हूँ इसलिए मुझे लीव दे दीजिए. But he translated literally the Hindi into English. This is what happens in most of us. We never think in English, we think in our own native language and we try to translate. For example, you take the words listening, hearing, put, keep. These are the so many words are there. So in English language, if you choose the correct word, it has got a different meaning altogether. For example, if I say the the uh, four legs of the table, a table will have four legs. I can say the legs of the table. I can also say the table's legs. What is the difference? I cannot say the legs of Subramaniam. Legs of Subramaniam indicates that is inanimate, means there is no life in it. Whereas Subramaniam's legs are animate, they are alive. How many of us know all these small differences in sentences? Very few of us, because we have done grammar in our school, but we never applied it. So we should be very, very careful in making a sentence construction. The purpose of any paper is to convey the information and ideas. This is done with sentences, and the sentence should not be long. You may make a complex sentence, very few people can understand that. A sentence should be short and it should contain the idea very, very clearly. And as I told you, you have to take precise and correct words. Say, for example, fewer, less, infer, higher, longer, all sorts of things. So, and you have to take care of the plurals and singulars. Most of us will write the data is correct. No, data is plural, datum is singular. So you have to take all these things into consideration when you are writing a good paper. Now, writing down the conclusions, easy way is usually not the correct way. Easy version is conclusion is equal to summary of the result. No, conclusion is different, summary is different. For example, you go for a marriage and you want to write it. The conclusion is the bride and the bridegroom got married. That is the conclusion. And how do you write? Oh, the marriage went on very well. It has been celebrated very well. I got good food. That's all the summary. It's not the conclusion. Okay, so you must be very clear what is summary and what is conclusions. Correct version of it is conclusion is not only the summary of results, it is should emphasize the significance and relevance of the results, include shortcomings and possible future work. So it's not so simple that you can write anything you feel like. And a good conclusion uses new language to summarize, means you will make it a very brief paragraph of what you want. For example, if you want to read a paper consisting of about 15 printed pages, how much time do you take to read it? If you really want to read sentence by sentence and understand it, it takes you a minimum of 4 to 5 hours. Do you have so much time? No. So what do? Read the title, read the abstract, straight away go to conclusions. Probably you may not understand the methodology. You come back to the experimental methods or algorithms, then more or less you understood everything. Another important point is you see a figure. A figure must always have a caption. If the caption is wrong, if the caption is incomplete, the figure does not convey any meaning. So you have to take extreme precaution to put a good caption for the just a minute. Siddharamji, I'm in a meeting. I'll call you back. Okay. So it's that what you really want to conclude, it should be in a very precise form. It's not that Say, for example, tables, figures I was telling you. Until and unless you have a good caption, figure doesn't convey anything. Until and unless you have a good table caption, table has no meaning. So these are all the points you should really take care when you are presenting it. You may ask me why it is so important. For example, you have got wonderful result. You made a very good picture, a figure. I want to borrow that figure in my book. How do I borrow? I don't borrow the figure alone. I borrow it along with the caption. So if you don't write a caption clearly, how do I borrow it? I can't. So when you want to make it complete, then only the whole thing will be understood by others. Okay. Now, do's and don'ts in conclusions. If there is no information, no new information, then that paper doesn't stand. So conclusion must have new information. Do not state reasons for what you are concluding. This is done in the discussion section. Conclusion is a simple conclusion. As I told you, if you go to a marriage, say whether the bride and the bridegroom married or not. That is the conclusion. Should not start with in summary or in conclusion. These are the bad words. In fact, the moment I say in summary, I will outright reject the manuscript. Should not included the words like investigated, studied. These are general words. It's not investigated, it's not studied. You are very specific about the point what you wanted to make. Don't leave the main points of your paper to the conclusion part. No, conclusion is completely different. Avoid changing the tone of the paper. There are a few papers where I saw it starts with a big bang. I want to do something about the energy problem in this whole world. By the time he comes at the end of it, he must have made a small thin film, and he claims this thin film can change the whole course of action for the entire energy sector. No, avoid changing the tone of the paper. Don't apologize. No, I couldn't do that scanning electron microscope. So with the available data only, I am interpreting. Who asked you to publish a paper? Get me that scanning electron microscope data. You can't say, no, 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 that is not available to me. Then don't publish a paper. So, these are all the facts. Now, abstract versus conclusion. Abstract has two objectives. It gives you the complete, concise, precise summary of whatever you have done in that paper. Conclusion tells the significant results. If I read abstract and conclusions, probably I don't have to go into the details of the paper until and unless I am working on it. So same thing applies when you want to read a paper. Read the title abstract and go to conclusions. You should be able to understand what the author has done it. Otherwise, it's not a well-written paper. So steps to writing an effective conclusion: begin with a clear statement of principal finding. State the conclusions of the paper, be brief. Each sentence should be very clear, direct statements. Explain why this work is important. Some of us nowadays have started writing, we started working on this, we have done it in our laboratories. Generally, it is not acceptable, but nowadays people are accepting it. Previously, we used to say, this has been done in the labs, but now people are using first person. Okay, not bad, but not a good way of writing. And sometimes you may not make any suggestions for the future work, because somebody do not like to put the future work, they are doing it. Somebody may not know what is the future work. So in effect, I told you these are some of the major issues. And for specific journals, they need a specific format, because everything, as I told you, is data. How you analyze the data is depending upon the journal. The journal has got its own software to analyze the data. So therefore, they have put some restrictions and honor it. Generally, what we do is, in fact, I receive quite a number of these points. I write a paper, I submit it to a journal, for example, Journal of Physics and Chemistry of Solids. They reject it. What I do is, in my hurry, I'll do major mistakes. One major mistake is I don't reformat it to the new journal. I don't rewrite the covering letter. So the covering letter says, dear editor, I am submitting a manuscript title so and so for your esteemed journal, Journal of Physics and Chemistry of Solids. and he addressed it to another journal. What do? It is very clear. He applied to that journal has rejected, and he's now applying to another journal. So take extreme precaution, because nobody would like to eat a second-hand food, or nobody would like to buy a second-hand material. So try to put that money, put that time to make it fresh to another journal, taking care of the format, taking care of the covering letter, taking care of the entire references. So it's very important. The covering letter is the most important one, because this is what you are addressing to the editor. I get covering letters which are running into 4 pages. He starts explaining why he has done that experiment. Imagine how much time the editor is going to spend on your manuscript. Hardly about half an hour. That is too much. In this half an hour, is he going to study the covering letter, or is he going to study the abstract and conclusions? So the covering letter should be very precise and to the point, because covering letter is not going to help you at all when your manuscript is stronger. Even if it is weaker, covering letter doesn't carry any weightage. It's only a message is being communicated to say hello to the director, to the editor. So the covering letter short but detailed, using figures. Covering letters will not really help. Maximum 1 figure. But nowadays covering letters need not have any figures, because we use it in the graphical abstract. Schematic diagrams, you have to use extremely good diagrams, because that is most important. If the diagram is bad, nobody is going to look at it. And best software for graphics, like Origin, Excel. You can use any software. And most of the figures what we would like to send is in the TIFF format. And table of contents, generally we don't give table of contents for a manuscripts, but sometimes some journals would like to ask for it. And references, these are most important, because when you make a statement, that statement is to be supported by a reference. You cannot just simply say Subramaniam said it. Subramaniam said it, make sure in which journal, in which year, which is the page, so that I can go and see what he has really done it. You acknowledge your debt to the sources of data, research which you have drawn by including references, and the references requires a particular format. Because this will be, if you ask me, my publishing manager will go through the references, and if they are more than 10 years old, he will say the, the, the work is not contemporary. So you must make recent references, and you must make relevant references, and the reference format should be contained in a proper way. The journal requirements and cover letters, of course, we have done it. Yeah, the summary, I'm more or less coming to the fag end of my talk. Now this is, almost I took an hour. Always provide a cover letter, focus on the importance of a novelty, put your research in a big picture, be concise, always suggest reviewers. Most of the journals want, provide what they ask for. So now I would like to go a little beyond. Now you have submitted the paper, it has gone through the editor's desk, it has gone to the reviewers. Now reviewers comment. Some reviewers are very rough, because their confidentiality is maintained. Some reviewers are very smooth, but remember, every reviewer would like to help you, because a reviewer also is an author. Don't take reviewers' comments in a negative way. And sometimes the reviewer makes some stupid comments. Let us face it. In such a case, you don't have to accept the stupid comments. What you can do is, there is what is called a rebuttal. In the sense, you can write back to the editor saying that the reviewer has not taken care of the basics. You can write whatever you feel like when you are right. Then the editor can take a call whether the reviewer is bad, he has no knowledge or not enough knowledge to review the manuscript, or he can do the reviewing by himself. He can also do that. So don't get panicky when the reviewer rejects it, when the reviewer makes some uneasy comments, when the reviewer makes non-relevant or irrelevant comments. Communicate to the editor. Editor certainly will help you. Editor will take care of you, because for editors, authors are are the lifeline of the journal. We know that. We are also authors. So it is an easy way to communicate with the editor and get whatever replies you would like to have. Of course, he is not going to reveal who is the reviewer, but he can take care of the proper reviewing mechanism. I think I would like to stop it here, because we have done. Uh, yeah, when you are revising a manuscript, the editor and the reviewer would like to see what exactly the changes you have made in the manuscript. So, from the original manuscript, whatever the changes you have made, put them in a different font and explain them in the covering letter, or a point to by point replies to the reviewers. That will help the reviewer quite well, and that will help the editor also quite well to take a decision. So I think I will stop at this point. And what all I would like to say is, publishing is not difficult if you follow the rules of the game. The point what you should make is, you must have the strength in your work, strength in your paper, a novel point what you want to convey. This can always be published. And if you find problems on publishing, write to me, I will help you. I hope this 1 hour lecture might have given you some idea of how to publish it. And if time permits, in fact, this is a material, I would like to give it for about 3 to 4 hours, discussing each point. Today, I have to rush through because it's 1 hour. I mean, I don't blame the organizer, Professor Dubey, because yes, it has made one point clear. Yes, we should follow the market. And I'm really thankful to Dr. Dubey for giving me this opportunity, because what I told you is my experiences, my journey as an editor, my journey as an author, and my journey as a publisher. And I would like to say thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was really a very nice talk. Dear participants, now session is open for the questions.
I think they may not be able to ask any question because they are mute. They are on mute.
Yeah. Please raise your hands so that I will unmute. Dear participants, yeah. Sir, I could see a lot of comments given by the participants.
Yeah, maybe what we can do is, you can collect the comments and send to me. I will answer comment by comment. If not now, they can also do it. They can mail it to you. Any specific comments, I will answer them. And
Yes,
then we can see how we can be able to distribute to them. Okay?
Yes, sir.
That may
Yes,
be
sir.
easier,
Yes.
because they have to attend another talk at 2 o'clock and they also want to have their lunch.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it not?
Yes.
A hungry stomach cannot write a paper, Dubeji.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So whatever.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Whatever doubts you have, whatever questions you have, you kindly communicate with Professor Dubey. He is going to consolidate and give it to me. Even if it takes 1 or 2 days, I'm available to you, and I will answer all of them, and I will send back the replies to Dr. Dubey. Okay? Thank you.
Yes, sir. I will share all the questions with you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving the enriched knowledge to our participants. It was really a very amazing talk, and we learned a lot of good things, how to write a paper and how we can impress first the editor, then reviewer. So thank you very much, sir. So dear participants, it's the time for a lot of thanks. Am I audible, participants?
Yes.
Please raise your hand. Dear participants? Yeah.
You can hear.
Nice MSc కదా?
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir, audible, sir.
So thank you very much, sir. So it's the time for a lot of thanks.
Thank you,
So
sir.
I express my sincere thanks to Professor
Thank you,
Subramaniam
sir.
sir.
Sir, if it is possible, conduct one more session, please.
Yeah, sure. We will conduct one more actually to the our professor, because generally he is not easily available. He is always very busy person. It was really a great pleasure was available for us. Participants, please mute your mics. If you have any question, then only open, please. So
Can you send?
thankful to our college management for providing support to conduct this event, especially our secretary and correspondent, Dr. S. Ramesh Babu, and Kirti Kumar Garu, Vice Chairman of our college.
కీర్తి కుమార్ రమేష్ బాబు
We are very thankful to
హెల్ప్
our
చేశారు ఆల్ థ్యాంక్స్.
principal, Dr. S. Suresh Kumar, who is our motivator. At last but not least, I am very much thankful to my team, Dr. S. Sarvanand, Mr. Venkatesh, Mr. Srilali, Mr. Shekhar, technical staff, Appaji. Thank you very much, dear participants. The session is over now. We will send you the feedback form to WhatsApp, Telegram, and email as well. Please fill the form within 2 hours to get the certificate. Here, the session is over. Sir, thank you very much, sir. Subramaniam, sir. Thank you so much.